So now that you have all these possible issues you might have in terms of communication with your group, now is the time to be proactive and come up with all the different solutions you could come up for those issues. And again, remember, it's a brainstorm, so you want as many ideas as you possibly can come up with. So don't just stick to one solution for every one possible issue. If you're really being proactive, you should actually come up with 2 to 3, even 4 solutions for every possible issue, because then when that actually comes up, you're much more likely to actually solve it. Because if you only have one solution that doesn't work, you're stuck, you haven't thought it through, you're not going to be able to be very proactive about it. Okay, so obviously the space on this piece of paper may not be big enough if you got a ton of different ideas. So feel free to grab a separate sheet of paper and add to that while you're brainstorming here. Okay, but while you're doing this, make sure you're thinking of both sides as individuals and as the group, right? So if I'm thinking about myself and how I'm going to interact with others, I want to think of what kinds of things I can ask of other people to prevent communication issues. So for an example, I might ask Mr. Eden, right, to make sure that he is considering the bigger picture and letting me know how his solution fits into some of the bigger things, because he might be focused really, on the task at hand, but I might be really worried about how that affects other things. And so I might ask him, please keep in mind that I want to make sure this fits into the bigger picture and we're solving all the problems, and then he can explain that to me, because otherwise I might assume that he's not taking that into consideration. That might frustrate me, right? On the other hand, though, I want to also make sure that I'm keeping in mind for myself things that I can do for the other styles to avoid issues. Knowing myself, knowing things that might bother people, right? I can, for example, tell Mr. Eden that, hey, whenever I'm talking to you, I'm going to make sure to give you concrete examples of what I'm talking about, right? It might get frustrating for you if I get too big picture, too head in the clouds, and you're like, yeah, but are we actually solving the problem while I'm trying to think too big, right? That's something that I can do for Mr. Eden to solve the problem as well. So again, when you're working through all these different solutions, come up with as many as you can and really think of both sides. For each individual person, each different communication style, what is something you can ask of other people? What is something that you can make sure you're doing to adjust your style for other people and ask them to adjust a little bit for you?